Hey Warriors, Miss Adams here, ready for our last Artastic Tuesday for distance learning. I hope you've had fun. I have loved connecting with you, even though we're not together. I think about you every day, and I sure hope that you've had fun drawing with me the past few weeks. So we are finishing off Artastic Tuesdays with a visit to Africa. We are drawing some really cool African animals today. This lesson is for our 4th and 5th graders. A rhino, he's so cool. So we are focusing this for 4th and 5th graders, but I definitely have some 2nd and 3rd graders that could join us if you want. It's up to you. So we are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to jump right in. I suggest you have your paper sideways. We're kind of doing more of a sideways view for our rhino today. So I suggest you have your paper sideways, okay? We are going to start with his eye. So look where his eye is. It's not in the middle of the paper. His head is kind of ducking down, and so his eye is a little bit lower because his head is ducking down. It kind of looks like he's eating his lunch. So we're going to start with his eye, and it's a pretty small eye, okay? So we want to keep it small so we have room for the paper, and their eyes are just, they look really small in their head. They've got big heads, and his eye just like kind of looks small. So we're going to draw a little curved line for his eye. I'm going to look not in the middle, but I'm going to come down and kind of over just a little bit so I have room for his body. And I'm going to make just a little small curve line for the top of his eye. Then I'm going to finish it off underneath with another curve line. And of course, we're going to fill that in almost black. His eye is so small, you don't really see much white around it. And we're going to leave just a little space of white showing for the reflection off of his eye. Now we're going to draw his horns. Now African rhinos have 2 horns, and the word rhinoceros literally translate to, let me make sure I get this right, translate to nose horn. That's what it means, nose horn. We of course call them rhinos, but the word rhinoceros means nose horn. So we're going to go ahead and get his horns in. African rhinos have 2. There are some Asian rhinos that only have 1, but we're focusing on Africa today, so we'll draw 2 horns. I'm going to go ahead and look at his eye, and I'm going to come over just a little bit, and I'm going to make the curve line for the bottom of that tusk, for the bottom of that horn. I'm going to go ahead and make a little curve line for the bottom of that horn. I said tusk because I just drew the elephant. We know it's a horn. We're going to make a curve line for this shorter one. And then I'm going to make it come up just a little ways and touch. Notice how this one is shorter than this one. It's also not as curved. This longer one has more of a curve. This one just kind of slants up a little bit. So I'm going to make it curve up and back down. And I know it looks very weird right now. It'll look weird for a little bit. Don't worry about it, okay? Practically touching this one, we're going to make more of a curve line down for this horn, okay? So very close next to it, I'm going to make a curve line that comes down for this bigger horn on the end of his face. We're just going to curve it down, however wide you want that horn to be. And then I'm going to curve it more. It's going to curve up, however long you want it to be. And we're going to curve it back down and touch. Now their horns are actually made of keratin, which is like what our hair is made of, but of course it's very tightly compressed and they're pretty strong. So we're going to go ahead and finish off his horns by adding just a few, rough bumpy curve lines, and we'll add more detail in a minute, but let's go ahead and add just a few not perfect little bumpy curve lines on his horns. Now we are going to draw his nostril. Now look at the bottom of this horn, that corner. The nostril is just a little bit lower than that and over. If you look, it sort of lines up with his eye. Okay, so watch. I'm going to look at his eye because this is going to look very weird at first. No worries. It'll make sense. I'm going to look at his eye, and I'm going to come down. And look, it's just going to be a tiny bit lower than this corner. Okay, it's just going to be a little bit lower than that corner of the horn right here. Look at the eye, come a little bit more lower than that corner of the horn, and I'm going to make sort of a smushed, sort of kidney bean shaped, or, it's a nostril, it doesn't have to be perfect, kidney bean shaped or like a smushed circle or whatever. And I'm going to fill it in black. And then above and below it, there's definitely a couple extra wrinkles, so I can make, a couple wrinkles here and there. I know it looks really weird right now. We're gonna look at the corner of the horn again, and about right there is where we're gonna make a little curve line that comes down. And notice how it stops a little bit below the nostril. And then it's not gonna be perfect, it's just gonna kind of curve just a little bit past the nostril. And then it's gonna curve up a little bit above the eye and stop. So I'm just gonna curve it out a little bit above the eye and stop. I know, it looks weird. It'll make sense with his whole body, I promise. So, oh, before I forget, because I always forget, I'm gonna go ahead and add, if you wanna add just a few little wrinkles above the eye, I could definitely sort of outline his eye in some wrinkles. I could definitely come on here underneath his horns and add a few wrinkles. They are very wrinkly animals, and there's a reason for that. In Africa, where they live and they are under that hot blazing sun all the time, they love mud baths. They roll in the mud, they get underneath the water as much as they can to kind of cool off. And all those wrinkles help trap in that moisture in that mud to keep them from getting sunburned, because they do have pretty sensitive skin, I read, which you would never think, but they can get very sunburned. So they're always dusting and mudding is what they called it, so to make sure that they don't get too sunburned. So we are gonna go ahead and look at his ear now. You stopped right here, this line right here. Just a little bit above that is where we're gonna start his ear, okay? So I stopped right here. I'm gonna come just a little bit above that, and I'm gonna start my ear. And we're gonna start with this line right here. Look, it's almost like a flattened S shape. It kind of curves up. We'll break it down. I'm gonna come up just a little ways, and I'm gonna make a curve line that sort of comes over, and then it's gonna slant up. Now I'm gonna follow. See where it slants right here? I'm just gonna make that nice and skinny next to it for as long as that is, but then I'm gonna go ahead and curve it out for the bottom part of his ear. From this tip, I'm gonna go ahead and make a curve in and touch. Now we're gonna go ahead and jump over, and we're gonna draw this side of his face, and then we're gonna draw the ear sticking out this way. So from the tip of his horn, I'm gonna come over just a little bit, and I'm gonna make it slant out just a tidbit. And there's a little bump for his head. And then we're gonna go ahead and make his back. Look how tall that curve is, okay? He's bending over, and you can really see his back kind of arching, and so it's a nice tall curve line. So we're gonna stop it way above the ear, okay? So I'm gonna make a nice tall curve line. I'm gonna start to slant it just a little bit, but it's gonna be definitely above that ear. Now, before I forget, we're gonna go ahead and make this ear that's kind of sticking out this way. So look at the bottom of the ear, wherever we started, and I'm just gonna jump over his whole head, and I'm gonna make that kind of smushed shape sticking up this time. So watch, it's gonna curve out a little ways, and then it's gonna slant up, however long you want that ear to be. And then we're gonna keep it real skinny at the top, and then it's gonna touch. Starting from the end here, I'm just gonna show the other side of the ear kind of curving in and touch. He's starting to look more like a rhino now, isn't he? So we've got that arch to his back, and he does have a little bump that comes down. So I've got this arch. I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit. And then we're gonna make another bump for his back. So I'm gonna start here, and I'm gonna make another bump for his back. And then we're gonna stop. We're gonna make the last bump kind of, notice how this last bump kind of connects with his back leg. So let's go ahead and start his legs, and then we'll connect it all together, okay? So look at this line where we stopped his face. We're gonna come down just a little ways, and I'm gonna make this curve line that comes up, and it's, pretty close to the ear, over just a little bit. So I'm gonna look at this line, come down just a little ways, and I'm gonna make a curve line that kind of comes up, a little bit close to the ear, and then stop. Then I'm gonna make another wrinkle. I'm gonna start it, see where it touched his face right here? I'm gonna come over just a little bit. I'm gonna make another wrinkle that curves down just a little ways and up. Notice that's a little shorter. So I'm just gonna bring it over, a little shorter, and stop. And then we're gonna start his leg. So I'm gonna make this wrinkle where his leg is kind of poking out from. So we are gonna start, not at the top, but down just a little ways. And I'm gonna make his leg, now he doesn't have skinny little bird legs, right? He is a big animal. So we need kind of a wide leg to support that big heavy body. So not at the bottom, but a little ways up. I'm gonna go ahead and make just sort of a wrinkle about however wide you want his leg to be, and it kind of comes up. And for his leg, look guys, we're gonna make it just a little bit skinnier at the ankle. Like we've talked about before, our ankles, if you look at your ankle, it's skinnier than the top part of your leg. So they also have a little bit skinnier ankles, but of course, they're still rhinos, not super skinny, okay? So it just slants just a little bit. So I'm gonna start at this wrinkle right here, this second wrinkle that we made, okay? I'm gonna start there, and I'm gonna make a curve line that comes down, and look, it is not gonna be, it's gonna be almost even with the mouth, maybe slightly lower than the mouth, but it's not gonna be like way down here, okay? It's pretty even with the mouth. So maybe slightly lower. And then we're gonna keep it pretty wide. So we're gonna come over somewhere over here, not at the end of the line, but over just a little ways, keeping it pretty wide. And I'm gonna make it slightly curved in, just barely. And then for his wide rhino foot, we're gonna go ahead and make it come out just a little bit. And it's just gonna come in and touch. Now, you can barely see this foot sticking out. It almost looks like it's sticking out from his mouth, but of course it's on the other side of his body. It's just kind of hidden a little bit. So I'm gonna look, it's almost even. It's almost even with the bottom part of his mouth. Look at the bottom part of his mouth, and I'm gonna come over just a little bit, and you're gonna just see a tiny little line showing for his foot. Then I'm gonna curve it over, you know, about as wide. I'm gonna make mine just a little smaller so I have room, but we don't have rulers, just kind of guess. And then, friends, it's gonna curve back in. And it just sort of curves in and then comes up and just sort of disappears. Mine just disappears right into his face on this one. This one's just gonna disappear right behind his head. Okay, there's no right or wrong. Now, I'm gonna start his belly. I'm gonna look down just a little bit where his leg met this curve line right here. I'm gonna come down just a little bit, and I'm gonna make his belly, and it's gonna be a curve line back, but not too long. His body's turned just a little bit, so you don't see his whole body. It's twisted just a little bit, so it's gonna look a little bit shorter. So I'm gonna make a belly with a curve line, not too long. And then we are gonna go ahead and make this leg right here. So, not at the end of this line, but over, not at the end of this line, but over. I'm gonna make another leg, and this leg we see just a little bit more detail. And look, it's gonna be shorter. His back legs are gonna be shorter because they're further away, just like we've talked about a million times. Things that are further away look smaller, look shorter. So we're gonna go ahead and make his leg look a little bit shorter. So I'm gonna curve it down. And I'm gonna make sure that it's shorter than these front legs. And then I'm gonna go ahead and make a curve line for the bottom of his foot coming over. You know, and you can kind of guesstimate. We're gonna bring it in just slightly for that little bit of a skinnier ankle. And we'll bump it out. And watch, we're gonna go ahead and connect it in just a moment. This is where it's gonna connect all the way around, but we'll do that in just a moment. Let's go ahead and add this other back leg that's turned just a little bit, so it's a little bit different shaped. So wherever this leg touches his belly, that's where I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna make it curve over and back in. Okay, so watch. I'm gonna make it curve over slightly and back towards this leg. Then I'm gonna make it curve over again. And now we're gonna go ahead and make the other side of the leg. I'm gonna guess, you know, about how wide I want it to be. And I'm gonna make it just curve a little bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and make his foot. I know it looks a little funny, but we're gonna go ahead and make his foot. I'm gonna curve it out just a little bit, and make it touch. Now, we're gonna go ahead and connect this all together, and then we'll add some details, okay? So we've got our big bump and our middle bump. Now we need a little bit of a smaller bump. Big bump, middle bump, and now we're gonna do just a smaller bump, and this is where you really have to pay attention, 4th and 5th graders. You are gonna make a slight bump, and it's gonna come all the way down and touch. See where this leg is? I'm gonna go ahead, well, actually, I think this will be a little bit easier. Let's make this come up just a little bit more. And then we're gonna make that little bump, and it's gonna come all the way down, just paying attention, and make it touch. Okay, let's add some detail. Oh, and of course we should add his tail. They use their tails to swat bugs away. And so we're gonna go ahead and make his tail coming from the back. I'm gonna start towards the top, not way up here at the tip top, but down a little bit more. We're gonna go ahead and make his tail coming down. And they're pretty skinny tails, so we're just gonna make pretty skinny next to it, another curve line. And then the fur, the hair at the end, we can just go ahead and you can make it, you know, real rough and bumpy and not perfect, however you want. You could add a few little curve lines. Now we're gonna go ahead and show his big, thick toenails. So on this front foot, we would see all of the toenails, and they're kind of those wide curve lines, and they're kind of touching. They're very close together, they're touching. This foot, you would probably not see all of it. You'd come over here and just see a little curve line for one of the toenails, and you might only see like one more. You wouldn't see all of them. Same with this foot. This foot is turned. That kind of weird leg that we made right here, that different shaped leg, that's because it was turned. So we're gonna not see all the toenails here either. We're just gonna see part of one and another. That's gonna see how now it looks more like it's turned. And this leg is more facing us, so you'd probably see all 3 toenails. Now, of course, for some detail, you can come on here and you're gonna wanna add some more wrinkles. Remember, those wrinkles are so important. You can add some wrinkles on his back. Definitely you'd probably want to add some wrinkles, you know, from those bumps that we made on his back where it's kind of all bunched up, where his skin's bunched up. You could definitely add some wrinkles on his tummy. Wherever you want, you can add some wrinkles. I would add some wrinkles on his legs, like I said, where his skin kind of bunches up more, maybe in his ankles. So think about where you want to add some more details, add some more wrinkles. And then, friends, I want you to think about some background, okay? So we're in Africa. So we want to go ahead and let's just start with the horizon line where the sky touches the earth. We're going to start with the horizon line. So for our horizon line, we're going to look not at the bottom of his leg, but up a little ways. And I'm going to make my horizon line stop, jump all the way over, jumping over his tail. So it looks like he's really grounded. If we made it down here, like we've talked about, he will look like he's kind of hovering, like he's kind of floating. So we have our horizon line. Now some different, a really cool detail that you could add to really make it look like Africa are these very cool trees. They're called acacia trees, and they have a very specific shape to them that people will really recognize when they think of Africa. So to make one of those trees, I'm going to come to the horizon line, and I'm just going to start with a line that comes up for the trunk of the tree. And I would make it super tall because these trees are sort of shorter looking, but they're really broad. So I wouldn't make it too tall. And then another tree. And then they have a very wide, broad top to them, okay? So I would make this side come out really wide and this side come out really wide. And of course, rough and bumpy, the rougher, bumpier, the better, right? So then I'll just come in here and double this line real skinny. I would come in here and double this line real skinny. And if you want like a middle section, you could definitely make a middle section coming up. You could absolutely make these branch out like we've done before in class. You kind of make them branch out again and then make sort of that V, that rough bumpy V. You could do that on all of them. You could do that on one of them, branch out with that rough bumpy V. And then the leaves are not big, fat, puffy leaves, okay? It's a different shape. They're sort of like long, they look, in a distance, they look sort of like long, wispy clouds. We've done long, wispy clouds before. At the top, so you're just gonna kind of make these rough, bumpy, sort of long, more flat kind of top to the tree. So I could add one going that way. I could add this one. This one's just gonna run right off the page because it's nice and long. So you can add as many of these trees in the background as you want. Let's go ahead and practice it again. We're gonna make a couple lines up, not too tall. And then we'll make it nice and broad. And I'm even gonna let mine just kind of run right into my rhino behind him. And then I can make it skinny back in, don't touch. Skinny back in. Maybe I want this, maybe I want a different shape. Maybe I want to kind of make another one up and follow that up. And just kind of, there's no right or wrong. Just make it however many tree branches that you want coming off is fine. And then we can go ahead and make those long, sort of flat tops to the tree. Just rough and bumpy. I can even see mine a little bit behind my rhino. I can make another layer, long and flat. Okay, so these are very sort of quintessential African trees that people really think about, which is a really cool detail to make, a very realistic detail. You could, of course, make some leaves, make some grass for him to eat, nice and tall grass for him to eat. You could make rocks. You could make, you could make a sunset would be really cool. If you have crayons or markers at your house, or even Lucky Duck, if you have paint at your house, you could do like a really pretty sunset in the background. Or if you want to show that it's during the day, you could make a circle in the sky. You 4th and 5th graders know that you just see a small circle in the sky, not with the black lines coming off. If you want it to be realistic, just a little circle in the sky. I could make, to sort of mimic what I've got with my acacia trees, I could make some wispy clouds up in the sky, nice thin wispy clouds to make it look very realistic. Okay, so that is our rhino for the week. I want you to continue with some detail, add some cool, some cool background information to make it really interesting for whoever's looking at your picture. And so this is it for our rhino, and this is it for Artastic. I hope you guys have an awesome summer. And I miss you 5th graders. I wish we could have said goodbye in person. I know you guys are gonna do awesome in middle school. Please come see me and say hello. 4th graders, I hope you are ready to get right back into the swing of things in the fall. I miss you all, I love you all, and I hope you have a super awesome summer. Bye.